So I hope that you've been enjoying my free 6-day mini course so far, and I just wanted to take a quick break to answer some of the most common questions that I get asked about running an online business, starting with the most important question of them all. How will I know that the niche that I've chosen is going to be profitable? Now, if you've already taken my free 6-day mini course, I've already taught you many great ways to find and brainstorm possible niche ideas. So for example, I taught you how to use Longtail Pro to figure out what people are searching for on Google and to analyze the competition to see if your niche is going to be a success. I've also taught you how to use Jungle Scout to figure out what's selling on Amazon and the level of competition. But the million-dollar question is always going to be, how do I know whether I've chosen the right niche and can I make money? So first off, there are no guarantees that any given niche is going to be insanely profitable because there are just too many variables to consider. And the most important factor to your success is actually going to be the amount of time and effort you're willing to work on your business. But in terms of picking the right products to sell, there's always going to be some amount of trial and error involved. So for example, my wife and I have sold some products that were immediate home runs right off the bat. And we've sold some products that have been just base hits. And we've even had a couple of products that were just complete duds and did not sell well at all. But what I can say is that the guidelines that I provide in my class make it far more likely that you'll at least hit a base hit. So for example, I had students who started making 6 figures with a single product within 6 months of selling. And I've also had students who went through several different niches before achieving profitability. So for example, I had this one student who started out selling weighted vests. And then he realized that selling these big, heavy vests online was just not going to work. And so he pivoted and started selling cupcake stands instead, and that turned out to be a winner. So the only true way to find out if your niche is going to be profitable or not is to actually go out and start selling. So I have my students sell a handful of products first to validate their niches before going all in with their own custom website. And while you cannot possibly know that you're going to hit a home run with any given product or niche, there is actually a very high probability that you will at least get a base hit. So one thing I do want to make clear is that I always do full evaluations of all my students' niches, and oftentimes I can tell right away if a niche doesn't have enough demand or if it's too competitive, and this saves my students a ton of time and money. So if you do decide to join my class, I promise to look at your niche very thoroughly and give you my okay before you begin. Now the next logical question I get asked is, I don't know what to sell. Are you going to help me actually find a niche? Now, finding the right product to sell is actually an important part of the process, and it's very closely tied to the profit potential of your business. So as a result, I dedicate a very large portion of the class to providing you with the knowledge you need to actually find a profitable niche that has enough demand without being too competitive. In addition to the videos and the course materials, I will also personally review your niche before you proceed, and that way you'll have peace of mind before you launch your shop. And I do this for every student that asks. Now the next question I get asked is, what are the chances of losing my money when starting my business? And I can say this, a lot of brand new entrepreneurs are afraid of investing their hard-earned cash on products if they are not sure that they're going to sell. But first off, if you decide to dropship, there's not going to be any inventory to worry about, and you can actually run your website for as little as $2.95 a month. But even if you do decide to carry inventory, here is the truth. If you use the research guidelines outlined in my class and mini course, the chances of losing money are actually very slim. So for example, let's say you've done your research correctly on Google and on Amazon, and you've recognized that your products do in fact sell well on these platforms. In the worst case scenario, you can always liquidate your inventory on eBay or Amazon as a last resort and simply break even. And in fact, my wife and I have done this several times in the past with our duds. We invested a small amount of inventory, found that the goods weren't moving as fast as we would like, so we simply sold off all of our inventory on eBay. So realistically speaking, my wife and I actually have never lost money on any of our products. The worst thing that has happened to us is that we've either broke even or we've held on to products for a little bit longer than expected to sell. So if you do your research correctly, then you should never have to worry about actually losing money. Now, if you've been doing your research, you've probably seen a bunch of courses on how to sell on Amazon, how to sell on eBay, how to dropship, and a bunch of different classes talking about various marketplaces out there. Now, in reality, there are many different ways to get started with e-commerce, but keep in mind that your end goal should be to own your own website, to own your own business, and to own your own customer base. When you sell on Amazon or on eBay or on Etsy, your businesses can be taken away from you at any time. eBay and Amazon constantly hike up their selling prices. Both marketplaces also routinely ban people, and they institute new policies that might not be beneficial to sellers. But that being said, selling on these platforms is actually highly recommended, and a large portion of my class is actually dedicated towards helping you succeed on Amazon. It is just not the end goal. So what I typically recommend to my students is to start out on Amazon and eBay to get some sales under your belt and validate your niche. And then, once you know you want to follow through on your products, go all out with your website. And as I mentioned before, I've had students do 6 figures right away during the validation process on Amazon. And when it came time to start their own website, they already knew that their website was going to succeed. Now, another common question I get asked is, how long is it going to take to make money? And to be honest, the answer really depends on your business model. So for example, if you decide to go with dropshipping, while your initial cost will be low, the ramp up to significant profits will actually take a lot longer, typically on the order of 6 months to a year. Whereas if you stock your own goods, the ramp up time is much, much faster. So for example, I have a student selling on Amazon that did 6 figures in 6 months. I have another student on track to do 6 figures in a single month after only 4 months in business. I also have one student who made 7 figures in their first year selling a single product using Facebook ads. Now, all these case studies that I'm mentioning of my students will be available in later lessons, and you can learn about their story through either a blog post or a podcast. But overall, the length of time really depends on the amount of time that you spend and your business model. Now, if you decide, for example, to start by selling on Amazon, I would say it will take you a minimum of 3 months to source your first product and get your first sale. Now, how much money is it going to actually cost to start an online business? And once again, your upfront investment will depend on your e-commerce business model. The cheapest way to start an online store is to dropship, and you can actually start your store for as little as $3 a month. But if you want to source your products domestically within your own country, you can realistically get by with $100 to start. But if you decide to import your goods from overseas, I recommend having between $1,000 to $2,000 minimum to get started. But you have to keep in mind, once you've reached steady state with your business and the money has started to flow in, it is actually extremely cheap to maintain. And if you were to look at our business today, our online store earns 7 figures per year, and our monthly costs are only on the order of $80 a month for our store. So for example, if things were to go really bad and there was a sudden loss of sales for our store, we could actually keep our website up and running indefinitely. Now, another common question that I get asked is, since I reside in the United States, does the material that I'm going to be presenting to you apply worldwide to all countries? Well, currently I have students in my class from all over the world, including Canada, England, South America, Asia, Australia, even Saudi Arabia. And the beauty of the internet is that the concepts of selling online are not affected by geographical boundaries. Outside of the module that I have on making your business legal, all the other material should apply to all countries. Now, another common question I get asked is from people who are not very tech savvy and they're worried about designing a website. Now, before I launched my online store, I used to think the exact same way. I used to think that starting a website was just way too difficult. And then one day, a buddy of mine who was completely not tech savvy at all showed me his website where he was selling photography online. And when he told me that he did all this by himself, I was just completely dumbfounded because he didn't know anything about websites to start with. Now, the beauty of the internet today is that it is really cheap and easy to launch your own website because of open source software. And if you use a fully hosted platform like a Shopify or a BigCommerce, you don't need to hire a programmer at all. You don't need a designer, and you don't need to risk a lot of money up front. Putting up your website is actually quite easy, and there are a whole bunch of services out there that will do it for you for a very small monthly fee on the order of $3 to $30. Anyway, once you have your website up and running, another question I get asked is, do I need a huge marketing budget to get sales? And as I mentioned in a previous lesson of this 6-day mini course, the times have changed. The big media conglomerates do not control advertising anymore, and in fact, there are many effective methods of marketing and advertising that are absolutely free. So for example, it's extremely cheap and easy to throw up a blog for your store and create a loyal following for your products and attract search engine traffic. There's also a whole bunch of different ways to get free traffic to your store that I outline in my class, and there are many students in the class that have hit 6 figures without paying a dime for advertising. In any case, I hope this frequently asked questions session that I've had with you today just shows you that starting a business is not going to be a monumental task. You don't need any special skills. You don't need a lot of money. You just need determination and drive. Seriously, I knew nothing about websites and how to throw up an online store when I first started, and as long as you have a strong desire to be your own boss, you will eventually be successful.